It's good to see all of you here today. I hope you'll excuse me for wearing my hat, but these days I really feel a need to wear it to keep my head from exploding. Well, last night I was sitting down in my favorite chair in the basement. My wife was up in the kitchen, and I heard her say quite loudly, "Come here, you good-looking hunk." And so I sprang from my chair. Well, I got up slowly anyhow. And I went up to the kitchen. Well, the dog and I got there at the same time. But seriously, she did, she hadn't called me yet, but she did want to talk to me. She wanted to show me a documentary that was on the TV. And this was a documentary that was made back in the 1960s in California, and there was two projects that had been proposed out there, and they were showing some of the information on those projects. Well, the first project, they wanted to build, if you can believe it, a nuclear power plant directly on top of the Andreas Fault. And this thing had a lot of support from elected officials and lots of people. But the one segment she wanted me to see was a promoter talking about the project. And it was like they had gotten a page from TransCanada's book. He was talking about, well, yes, there are risks involved, but you know, this is part of any big project, and it's just an acceptable risk, and we'll build this thing to certain standards, and you will not have a problem. Well, fortunately, there was a waitress working in a local cafe who really didn't like this idea. I don't know if her name was Jane or not, but anyhow, she started a movement against this thing with one sign that she put up in the cafe where she worked. And this movement grew, and 2 years later, that project was killed. And they also had another story about which affected the San Francisco Bay. It seems the developers found out how valuable this property was along the shoreline, so they decided to make some of their own. So they started hauling dirt and building peninsulas out in the bay, and actually the plan was to fill almost half of the San Francisco Bay with dirt and turn it into a subdivision. Well, again, some women did not like that idea. 3 housewives who lived on the shoreline said, you know, we bought our property because we like the view and we like to look out upon the bay. And they took it upon themselves to fight that thing, and that was also defeated. So I think that should give all of us some inspiration here today. It can be done with some willpower. But you know, I got to thinking, it was only a short segment, but it had a profound effect on me. And I got to thinking afterward, you know, is there anything on this earth that people will not destroy or put at risk just to make a profit? I mean, is that the bottom line for us? Now, it seems to me that in our nation we have a double standard. We have 2 sets of rules. We've got one for the ordinary citizen, and we've got another rule for the powerful and the rich. Actually, there is only one set of rules, and that's for the ordinary citizen, and the big and the powerful, they have none, or else they make up the ones they want. I'll give you a couple of examples. I'm not going to do my barbershop thing again, but You know, just there's thousands of examples of this double standard. Let's just say, for example, I get home this afternoon, my pickup's all warmed up, so I want to change the oil in my pickup. So I park in the driveway, I pull the plug out, and 5 quarts of oil runs on the driveway. Well, what would happen if my neighbor saw me do that? He'd turn me in, rightfully so. And there would be consequences for me. But a few days ago, TransCanada is shooting oil 6 stories in the air, and it's like, oh well, they'll clean it up. Another big example to me of this double standard is in our conservation practices. You know, for well over 100 years, our government has encouraged the ordinary citizen to take care of this country, take care of our land, our water, all of our natural resources. And that's a good thing. And they have set up a multitude of agencies to help us do that. And we Americans, we have responded. We have planted grass on highly erodible land. We have built lagoons so our feed yards don't foul the streams. We've built terraces. We've gotten more efficient watering systems for our irrigation. You could go on, but we have responded, and it's been going on for years and years. My grandfather, when he was 6 years old, was quite a conservationist. And he actually received awards for the work that he did with his team of horses and a plow. And I'd like to think that we, our Thompson family, we try to continue those conservation practices. And the government has rewarded people for that and given them well-deserved conservation awards. You know, the one thing I did forget to mention that we have also done is up in the sandhills, those people have worked diligently to solve the blowout problem, which has went on for years and years. Well, so along comes the pipeline. And all of a sudden, we have a whole different set of rules. Conservation doesn't seem to be so important now. So you can just take all your conservation awards and the past 100 years of hard work towards conservation, and you throw it in the creek because it means nothing. Because the big companies can start at the north end of Nebraska and cut a 100-foot wide swath all the way to the southern border. And they're going to open up the sandhills like you're gutting a catfish on Saturday night. They're going to stick a pipe in our water supply that will pump between 30 and 40 million gallons per day through our state, every day. You can't even comprehend.
Not if we can stop them.
That's right.
Not if we can stop them.
So I guess in closing, we need to wake up here, and our leaders need to wake up and take some action. Because I'll guarantee you, this will not be the last pipeline. If we let this one come through, we're open the floodgate. There's acres and acres of that tar sands up there, and there's lots of oil companies just waiting to cash in on it. So let's do all we can to stop this thing. Thank you.